irrespective of what the state does, you should err in favor of the benefit of these students. You don't have a choice.
I understand your point, sir. I understand your point. I will say that with some combined 50-plus years of school governance experience on this board, we take that very seriously. We don't take it lightly. We don't abdicate to the powers that be. We've learned long ago that we can't rely on federal or state legislators to determine what's best for the students in the Spring School District.
That's the best news we've heard so far tonight.
We've consistently communicated that. We haven't consistently heard that. We've consistently communicated that. We don't get driven into corners from state legislators or those who purport to have information that others don't have. We give due diligence. We look into that. We've got more looking into. I'll be honest, I've heard some information here that I've heard before. I've heard about New York and their concern. I'll be honest, I don't know if Mr. Riddell's talked anything about Missouri. I don't know if he has. I know they do wacky stuff, in my opinion. They do wacky stuff in New York and in Florida. They're not driven there by Common Core. They do wacky stuff on their own. They may use Common Core as an excuse to do that. We're not going to be driven in a corner by the wackiness that other states do. We'll give due diligence. We're going to give sincerity and look at that. Because I would contend that this board and this district is concerned about the health, the well-being, and the learning of the students. That's first and foremost. And we will drive forth and make sure, regardless of what's forced upon us, regardless of what ultimately rests on our shoulders, we're going to ensure we do the right thing for these students. That you have insurance for. Yes. I'm sorry, Mr. Coleman, I'll come right back to you.
I'm really new to this. I just wanted some information is why I showed up here this evening. And I just looked at a couple of things starting about 4:30 this afternoon. And I've noticed that y'all keep referring to from the state level. How much research have you actually done into the true origin of Common Core? You know, Pearson prints the material, but that's not the beginning of Common Core. The true beginning, the chief educational advisor to Pearson is a Sir Michael Barber. And he stated many times over, he has one goal in mind, and that is a one world oneness in education. He's in the process of designing these programs from Missouri to Pakistan. It's a global. It's not, we keep calling it a state issue. It's not a state issue. It's an international issue.
Appreciate your opinion on that. I'll recognize this. You're right. And I think that we'll be compelled as a board to provide information. I'm not saying in the end everybody's going to like it. I don't know. Certainly as a board, we want to consider everything that's been had to say, including those thoughts. Are we in a global society? Yeah. I don't even like it that much. But yeah, we're in a global society. I can't stand it when they get on TV and talk about our students failing. We can't match up the Koreans or the Swiss kids. Our kids aren't as smart as those around the world. Right? Have you heard? I mean, I hear it. And it frustrates me. It frustrates me. We're the greatest country in the world. And we get labeled that. We're in a global society. I understand those things. As people say, there's devil in the details. I get that. We can flesh those out. But
if you take an someone internationally whose design is to teach everybody just the same amount of everything and test them only on the same amount of everything.
I understand your premise.
It's called dumbing down.
I understand your premise. What we'll look into is what happens if educators, more than two educators that maybe didn't sign up, what happens if educators determine, hey, we do believe this is right. We do believe this is in their interest. Okay, then we get to sit back and talk about that. I can say that, and this is no disrespect to you, Don. No disrespect to you. The fact that in 2.5 hours you dug up something is not going to scare this board into something or drive this board into something. Again, no disrespect.
I was searching for information,
Sure.
not something to argue about. I wasn't aware that is how this originated, and I found that from 4:30 this afternoon. I could only imagine what a person could find if they truly researched it for weeks on end. It has serious origin.
As Mr. Coleman said, pros and cons, right? I think that's what you said.
I
And
looked a lot for the
it's a fair,
pros, and I
it's a fair
didn't find
request,
any of those.
pros and cons.
What are they, the pros?
Well, I think what I'm hearing is a request, a request from Mr. Coleman to be able to pursue, determine those and to communicate those. We're gonna sit here in a half hour and come up with those? No, you know that. We're not gonna do that. in a half
What
hour.
choice do the educators in administration and stuff actually have in this? I mean, it's gonna come down to your jobs.
Yeah, I think that's a presumption there, but the
Pretty
question
much.
is,
I
you're
mean,
saying,
I'm glad I'm not a teacher.
sure.
I couldn't teach this to kids.
You're saying the standards, has anybody looked at the standards, by the way? Has anybody read the
Yes.
standard?
Oh,
Are there
yes.
some specific standards in there you take issue with?
It's disgusting.
They are.
It's perverted. It's perverted,
would
it's
ask-
disgusting.
I would ask that if anybody has here, write down a specific standard that you have that you're concerned with. Standard, third grade language
Any
arts,
reading list.
if you do
Look
that.
at any of the reading lists.
Wait a second. Recommended reading list?
Yes.
I was asking about standards because
That's part of the
the
standard.
Common Core. No, actually, I would take issue with that, but again, I'm not gonna elevate that. The point is, are we concerned about the standards? I'm asking that if there's a standard, specific standard, please quote that. Now,
but the
again,
standards
with due respect, Mr. Coleman was trying to speak a while ago, and I interrupted him. I don't wanna be rude to that. I wanna come back to you.
Okay, one of the things you mentioned that New York is wacky. They
And that may have been appropriate, unprofessional and inappropriate of me. I'm just saying
they-
some of the things that appear to me to be that way.
Okay, well, I want to have issue with that. The principals in New York City, for example, took their outstanding students, several thousands of them, in order for them to be put into the honors program in that city, they had to pass these Common Core testing deals, the evaluations. Out of their outstanding students, that those principals personally recommended because they were A+ students, basically. 13% of them failed the test. I wonder why. We have to remember one thing. When you have Pearson making the reading materials, the math materials, making the test materials, providing the remedial stuff for the students who fail the test, and also the stuff in order for teachers to improve because they aren't doing a good job, supposedly. There's a conflict of interest. They stand to make more money if the kids fail. That's just it. It's profit or no profit. And if they can make profit, they're going to do it. They're not even an American company in the first place. They're based out of London, England.
Duly noted.
How many of you folks are aware that these?
Hold on, wait a second. Hold on. This isn't a town hall meeting.
No,
offense.
I
If you're
understand.
addressing the board, you can please address the board, and I'm close to the point that if someone makes a written request to address the board, we would invite you to do that. If you have a question for the board, I'd ask you please address.
I do. I actually attended a meeting right here at the Catholic
Sure.
Church right up the
Yes.
street. How many of you gentlemen and ladies were there? The members of the board. Yeah. Did you see the same material that was presented there? Is there really a question in your minds that Common Core is a valuable asset to the community and to our children? I mean, the 15% of the entire curriculum is up for local modification. The remaining 85% is dictated to you because it's copyrighted by the companies that own it. And therefore, it's not really a question of whether or not these teachers want to teach that way. They're obligated to teach 85% and drum into the minds of these children 85% of a curriculum which they have absolutely zero control over. They'll never see the tests themselves, so they are forced to teach the curriculum because they can't even administer the tests, and therefore they have to teach to the test, otherwise they'll be scored negatively as teachers because they fail to be able to achieve a passing grade on these tests.
I understand your point. Now, what will happen is we pursue this board moving information. If for some reason we find that your statement is simply not true, I'm saying if,
Of course.
it unravels much of your argument.
Sure.
And I get that. And now, having said that though, if that's what we pursue as a board, and we find that information, we ought to be able to explain that. We're not equipped to explain that. Either what we do is we substantiate what you say, or we find that it's not substantiated.
Right.
We're not there yet.
I
But
understand.
I'm hearing
And
that charge.
I agree with exactly what
I'm
you're
hearing
saying.
that charge.
I guess one of the questions that everybody in the community should be asking is, Since the state is already implementing this, and it's scheduled to be implemented in 2014, which is now, we're 2 months into it, and 2015, why haven't the school boards been given an opportunity to have full disclosure of what the program entails by the state and by the standards committees? Why haven't the parents in the community been educated about what the opportunities are so that they can address their concerns with you? Because again, you're representatives of what? The parents in the community, right? So if no one really has knowledge, how can anyone debate anything? This was fostered upon us, shoved down our throat by our governor, who's actually sits on the board of the Governors Association. He is a part and parcel of the entire project. And quite frankly, no one had any input on this. They're now going back and asking for massive amounts of money at the state legislature level for a project which they never even told the state they were implementing.
Sir, I interject. I hate to interrupt you. Is this information available?
Absolutely.
Then we will look into it. We'll look into that. We appreciate you pointing that out. but we'll look into that.
I guess the question is, where will you get the information?
You said it was readily available.
It is available.
Well, then we'll find it if it's readily available.
Well,
Yeah, at some point, we're going to have to ask, is the community to trust those that they put in this position to dig into this? Not to rely on a 10-minute, 12-minute, half-hour conversation.
Right. I guess my point is we're discussing this now in February of 2014 for a school system that is already implementing it, and you gentlemen and ladies don't know the facts.
Nobody knows anything about it, it seems to me.
That's a major problem.
And what people around here have found out about it, we have all had to find out on our own.
Okay, I'm done. I'm done. Sir, if you'd like to address the board, I'd ask you to request it in writing. I appreciate that. We have the avenues to do that.
Well,
But as far as taking hostage this board meeting, I'm not going to allow it. I'm not going to allow it. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm not trying to
I'm not
suppress it. I'm
either.
not trying to suppress
I'm
it.
not either. I'm suggesting that these parents and these people in this room
Then
are
I-
here for a reason,
Correct.
and they're here to gather information.
Good.
And they're
we'll
not here
provide
to
that
have you
information.
shut the meeting down because
Sir.
you don't want to have the
Sir.
discussion. And
We
with
have-
all
we have
due
a
respect,
process.
you work for them.
Sir, you're done. You're done. You can direct, you
No,
can
you're
request
making
by
a
board.
mistake of thinking that
Hey.
you dictate the rules to these people who you work for.
We dictate the agenda of this meeting. And
You
if
may
have a problem
dictate the
with it,
agenda of this
I'll call
meeting,
an
but-
officer.
This
You can
is
call
very
whatever you want.
unprofessional.
Yes, it
Very
is. Yes, it is.
unprofessional. Everything though.
Hey, sir, you're done. I
This
appreciate it.
With all
I
due
appreciate your
respect,
thoughts.
you work for these
You're finished.
folks. Remember that.
Wow.
I have a question on my actual.
Yes.
If this is, you know, you were saying it's supposed to be fully implemented by next year.
Yes.
Why doesn't anybody on this board know anything about it already? It's coming up in less than a year.
Sure. Well, I don't think it's fair to answer that. Many of these issues, to be honest, although this has been incorporated or developed some 3-4 years ago, those issues are just not coming up. I don't know, maybe it's because people hadn't really pursued it. Maybe it hadn't been fleshed out. I don't know. But why does this come up? Because
But
it's
that
really
would be
not
your
being considered.
responsibility to have already known this. If it's coming up.
If you don't mind, I don't think it's fair that you say nobody on this board knows anything about it. I'm not an
You've got
expert
questions,
on,
ask him
I'm
about
not
it.
an expert on Common Core by any means, not even close. But I know, I'm familiar with it, I've studied it, I've done some research on it. We all have. In fact, we still want to do more research on it, because a lot of these big problems have recently come up, a lot of these concerns. And like Gene said, we are concerned about it. You guys are acting like we're just all for Common Core, we're not concerned. Of course we're concerned. These are our kids we're thinking about. We live in a very conservative area, and we share those conservative feelings. We are concerned about this. This is a board meeting where we have a specific agenda, and we are concerned. We've discussed this, that we were going to have a study session just for this. We've already talked in depth about this. We've already done some home research. We are concerned about it. We do know something about it. Am I an expert? By no means. I need to learn more. I want to learn more. And we're going to learn more. That's one of the things that Chris asked us, is if we have some specific questions, for us to gather those questions. And I invite people here that know me, if you have some specific questions about Common Core that you'd like me to find out, bring me those questions. And when we go to the study session, I'm interested to know the answers to those too. We have studied on this. This isn't just come up tonight or in the last week or two. We have studied and done some research on this. We need to do a lot more. I know I do. I haven't done near as much as I'd like to, but I have. I am familiar with Common Core, and I want to learn more to make sure that we're doing the right thing for your kids. We do care.
I want to give Mr. Cole an opportunity to present his materials to the board.
Okay, I've got these for the board, and all I'm doing is just pass them down, please.
That's what you said back in the day.
ask that maybe, can we have a public forum in a larger facility in which the community, the administration, the school board, and the teachers can openly discuss Common Core?
I think that's a very good
That's a request,
idea.
that's a request that you've asked.
Yes,
Right.
please.
I understand. I understand your request.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman.
Thank you.
I can take a few questions.
This one real quick. Do you as a school board have the power to either reject or accept this, or no matter what the state says?
Sure. Well, you know, it's implied that we can. I think there probably are some limitations on that. Fact is a district that is chosen to operate on bare minimum local participation. Yeah, we rely on state funding, and are there ties to it? Certainly. How deep? I don't know. But